What's good, YouTube? Quinn Wade basketball analysis coming to y'all with a quick video. Today we're gonna talk about Julius Randle and the Los Angeles Lakers. He's another guy that's on the trade market because him and the Lakers could not come together and with a contract extension, even though he still will be a restricted free agent and he still has a chance of staying with the Lakers and he has a chance to still improve because the guy literally is only 23 and he's going to turn 24 in November, which is a while from now. But next season, he's going to be a 24-year-old guy that's 6'9", 250. Show that he can still rebound on this level. He averaged a double-double in his second season, averaging 11 and 10. We all knew that he can be a low post guy. We all knew that he was a person that played with a lot of effort and energy when it comes to rebounding the basketball and playing inside the paint. But he has been a little bit of a disappointment because you got to take in count that Julius Randle was supposed to be one of the best high school players in high school, and he was, and he went to college, and he still was one of the better players because he was obviously a top 10 pick, picking seventh by the Lakers. But honestly, when you're picking somebody in the top 10, you're hoping that they can be a franchise cornerstone. You're hoping that they can be a franchise player for you. You're hoping that they can be a changer. And Julius Randle has been a solid player at best. He has been a role player. And I know people don't like that I'm about to say that, but Julius Randle, you took him in the top 10. Is a lot of players that usually become role players in the top 10, but you're drafting that high for an NBA potential star. And that's something that Julius Randle hasn't became. He has become nothing but really just a role player, a guy that can beat you up, post up. He has tried to expand his range, still can't really shoot threes, still not the greatest mid-range shooter. He did add a little bit of weapons in his game, especially when he's posting up, and he's more versatile. He plays, like I said, with effort and energy. He hustles. He uses his body. He bangs if he has to, and he's finding different ways to score also besides just posting up, because the post-up game is basically dead at this time in the NBA. It's a couple players like Marc Gasol, Karl Anthony Towns, and sometimes Boogie and AD that still post up every once in a while. But the game has come so perimeter oriented that you see a guy like Julius Randle and he looks like a dinosaur. We said the same thing about, Rondo. We said the same thing about Jahlil Okafor. Jahlil Okafor can post up. He can score the basketball. But, that's out of date. People want people that can be pace and space, shoot the three, put the ball on the floor, knock down pick and roll mid-range jumpers, knock down floaters in the pick and roll, because the game is just about shooting threes, getting to the paint, and keeping the floor spread out. So that way, if you can't get a three, if you can't get to where you want to on a pick and roll, you can always kick out to a three-point shooter or somebody rolling to the basket. Worst case scenario, you hit a floater, you hit a jumper, or you shoot a three if they go under the screen, or a mid-range if they go under the screen. You got a quick first step, dribble down, get the mid-range, and throw it right in. So Julius Randle right now can't really do majority of that stuff. He's not a great three-point shooter. He's not the best mid-range scorer. He has, like I said, added some little floaters, added some little better footwork, but he hasn't really shown that he can be a franchise cornerstone. He hasn't shown that he can, impact a franchise like that. And we actually was surprised because I told people that I thought that Julius Randle will be a bust. Obviously, he played better than what I expected, but he's not a superstar. He don't even look like he can be a potential all-star at this point, because even when the Lakers had Julius Randle a couple years ago, he still didn't really, even when the team was bad, he never really showed the potential of being a superstar player at all. And that's when they gave him a lot of minutes. That's when he was playing more. That's where he had time to show. But, his career high minutes is only 28 minutes a game. And even in his third year, that was his highest. He started 73 out of 74 games, and he only averaged 28 minutes, but he didn't really give you much in those minutes besides, the inside presence, and nowadays you want the versatility, especially in the big. And then you got to put into account, the Lakers want to keep their money open for free agents because they are a destination. They are a team that, they have the beautiful weather. They have Magic Johnson. They have Rob Pelinka. They have a person like Jeannie Buss that can recruit and bring players to LA, even though they have failed over the last couple of years. They can always pull off a trade. I never thought I'd see Dwight Howard in a Laker uniform, but there he was. I never thought I'd see Steve Nash in a Laker uniform, and then he was in a Laker uniform a couple years later after leaving the Suns. So they can always pull off a trade. They can always get somebody, and then you got to take into account that the Lakers also have young players like Lonzo Ball, like Kyle Kuzma, like Brandon Ingram, like Jordan Clarkson that have some type of value because they're on cheap tradable contracts. Even though some of them are on rookie contracts, you have a player like Jordan Clarkson that's on a good contract for his talent. So even if you trade for him, you don't feel like you're overpaying for Jordan Clarkson because he's on a good contract in general. And if they can get Julius Randle to stay without opening the books and trying to overpay him for a player that he's not. Obviously, sometimes you pay the player for what they have done, and sometimes you pay the player for what they can be. Like the Sixers, they feel like Joel Embiid, for what he has shown, can be a superstar. So they paid the money for that. Julius Randle hasn't shown you any of that, so it's hard for me to give him a max contract or a lot of money for a guy that so far has panned out to be a role player at best. And at the end of the day, it's kind of crazy because he had a lot of hype. He'd been a top 10 player since high school, even in college. They had him ranked number 5, and I was always against it. Like, I don't think Julius Randle is going to pan out. I don't think Julius Randle is that great of a player, and I don't really think that he's going to make that big of a difference, and he really hasn't. Even though he averaged a double-double, it was 11 points and 10 rebounds. Not to take no credit away from him, but he did average a double-double in the league, but he hasn't shown any superstar potential, which I thought he wasn't anyway, and he didn't. But at the same time, you do have to, like I said, give credit to the Lakers for putting themselves in the position to accumulate all this talent on this roster. And now they have to figure out how they're going to build and rescope this roster because they do have Larry Nance. Also, they still do have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope on that 1-year deal, and that's going to be $17 million. That's going to be off the books because he only signed a 1-year deal. And you still got Zubac, who has potential. He's only getting paid $1.3 million. That's another cheap, affordable player that you can trade and package together with other players to get the player that you actually want or bring a franchise player to you. Because Brandon Ingram and Kuzma, they show signs of being franchise caliber players. They show signs of being all stars, but you can get the guarantee if you trade these players. And some people say, hey, let's get LeBron, let's get Paul George. You don't want to trade for those guys because of the fact that, they still going to be free agents after this year, so they still technically can leave. And if they want to come to the Lakers anyway, we have the money to give them. They don't really have to extend none of these contracts, but let me know the question of the day that I want to ask y'all. How do y'all feel about Julius Randle? Do you feel like he's a bust? Do you feel like he's just a bench player? Do you feel like he had more potential and never realized it? Do you think that he still can be an all-star? Do you think that he, should be the next Zach Randolph? But he was supposed to be the next Zach Randolph, but Zach Randolph has had a better career than what Julius Randle has had so far. Even though he's still young in his career, he still can get better. He can still get to a different, situation, and they can utilize him better. They can fit a system around him. They can put him in spots where he can succeed. Maybe it's just Luke Walton. Maybe it was just Byron Scott. Maybe they just don't think he's as great as everybody else thought, after they drafted him. Because the Lakers is the team that drafted him. So they seen something in him that, they wanted to have because they drafted him. And now they don't even, have a contract for him so far. But I think, a 40, 50, 60 million at the max deal is will be in the range for Julius Randle, especially if you're not going to extend him. If he don't agree to them terms, I think he'll get a little less than that because he's not going to get that 5th year that he can get with the Lakers. If they offer him an offer sheet, I'm looking around 50, 40, 65 million at the max from another team, and that's a lot of money for a guy like Julius Randle. But he's still young, he still has potential. You don't really know how good he can be until you get him on your team, which the Lakers have the restricted free agent rights, and also if they don't want to extend them, they can always trade them to another team and get like a first round, 2 second round picks at worst. They get 2 seconds. So let me know what you guys think about Julius Randle. Is he a buzz? Is he good? Is he trash? Check out my website at NautilusPlayground.com. Link will be in the description in the comment section below. Check out my Facebook page at NautilusPlayground.com. Link will be in the comment section and in the description. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitter, obviously I'll tweet the video. My YouTube account is pinned to my Twitter. My AnalysisPlayground.com website will be in the description of my Twitter. And also, if you click the video on Twitter, it is automatically going to send you to YouTube. So subscribe and like the video to show support. Also, if you're on the website, if you're up on, I'm gone.